My Saab 900 Turbo has officially reached the 500 mile mark on the engine rebuild, which means today we not only get to do the break-in oil change, but we also get to take this thing for a drive and finally kind of push it past 3,000 RPM, actually get into boost and see how well this engine really performs. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. Let's get started. Just for starters, I do want to say that we have still not solved every single leak on this car. Actually, shortly after I film this video, I will be taking it back to IMM Auto Service to have them hopefully fix the couple of remaining leaks. But that's not going to stop us from still completing this break-in oil change. We completed this rebuild at 109,189 miles, and we are now at 109,722. I've driven the car about 150 miles in the last day or so, and it's been phenomenal. So let's just go ahead and get into it. We got to remove our oil filter right down there, and then obviously drain the oil from underneath. This is my first time being under the car since getting it back from IMM. If I'd driven it 150 miles before, there would be oil all down over here, oil all on this. The backside I am still seeing a little bit of leak, but they said I think it's still leaking from back there as well. There will be a full detailed video on the leaks. Hopefully not in too long. As soon as they're all sorted, there will be a video. It's nice that on the 900, the drain plug is actually vertical. A lot of the other cars I've worked on, the drain plug is not vertical, and it makes it hard to gauge where exactly the oil is going to go. Well, first thing I can tell you is I don't see any metal shavings or anything on the edge of the drain plug. This oil looks not necessarily clean, but I'm not seeing anything in it that's indicating metal shards or, you know, that we did the rebuild catastrophically wrong. In order to have better access to get the oil filter wrench on, I'm going to remove this intake tube here, which is just a couple of Torx and one hose clamp. There we go. I'm going to prep the new filter to go on. Rolling with a MicroGuard filter. This is recommended by one of my 900 buddies as a good brand to go with. Here is the part number on it if you're interested. Going to pour just a hair of oil in here as well. Let's put our new filter in. I also lubed up the seal at the top with just a little bit of fresh oil to be safe. To be honest with you guys, I much prefer the cartridges that come in like all the newer Saabs as opposed to these. These are more of a pain to change in my opinion. I'm gonna wipe this down because it's all oily from my hands being oily, and then we will hand tighten it. Let's reinstall our intake tube. As a horrible truck drives by, that sets off a car alarm. Oh, what great neighbors I have. I don't know if you guys can still hear that on camera, but that thing is like 2 streets over and I can still hear it. I still have quite a bit of oil in the old filter here, so let's pour it out and take a look just to confirm there's no big issues. I don't think I really see any big sparkles or flakes. I think that's all just part of the oil. I'll zoom in. You guys can get a little bit of a better look at it there. Doesn't come up on camera quite as well, but I don't think this is anything to be concerned about. The oil with light on it, it looks a lot darker with no light on it. you put light on it, it still is fairly clean. But I think we're, knock on wood, I think we're good. Let's have a quick conversation about oil. If you've been following this rebuild series for its entirety, you'll know that when we did the first startup and I initially filled it up with conventional oil, I mentioned at the time, after the break-in period, we would put synthetic oil in it. Given the amount of leaks I've been having, and after consulting with a few 900 experts and mechanics, some of them have actually recommended sticking with conventional oil for a couple reasons. Main one being that the conventional oil actually has bigger molecules than synthetic. So because the molecules are bigger, therefore it is supposedly supposed to help not stop leaks, but help the car be less susceptible to leaks. Now, since I'm not going to be driving the car hard, I'm not going to be beating on it very often, if at all. Conventional should be fine. We can run synthetic if we want. If you're going to be driving your car harder, synthetic is better. I've always used synthetic in all of my other cars, but we recommended Pennzoil 10W30. This car takes about 4.2 quarts, so let's get her filled up. Filling up the oil on the 900s is pretty easy. You can see just how wide this entry hole is. I don't know what else to call it. So we can do this without a funnel in theory. I'm gonna test my pouring skills here though. I should just get a funnel, shouldn't I? Oh yeah. Smooth pour. We're gonna let it run, get up to temperature, and we'll check the level and fill if we need to. Before I get started here, I've got to inject myself with a little bit of truth serum. Reason being, this actually is not the first time I've driven the car since the break-in oil change. I took the car up to run an errand shortly after that, and I noticed when I got on it, the car wasn't making much boost. In fact, it wasn't making really any boost. It was making about 3-4 PSI, as we later found out. What I ended up doing was taking it over to my buddy John's house, Dat Saab. He helped me with the rebuild. He's super knowledgeable on these cars and a great friend. Did some troubleshooting with the APC, messed around with the wastegate, some other settings, and we finally determined that the reason why it wasn't making more than half boost was because the wastegate just simply needed to be adjusted a few turns. So everything is sorted now. The car runs awesome. It makes full boost. So you're not going to be getting my first true reaction of driving the car under full boost. And apologies for continuing to tease you, but you can probably hear an annoying noise every time I turn the wheel. Something is wrong with this steering wheel. I think it's just the way that it's contacting the steering shaft back here. I'm gonna pull this off and mess with it in the coming weeks, hopefully, and sort it out, but it's a very annoying noise. Similar to like I mentioned during my rationale for why I'm sticking with conventional oil, this car is not gonna get driven hard very often, but for the sake of science and for fun, we will be driving it a little hard here just to at least mess with and see how well it boosts. So we won't get on it in first gear, just for sake of preservation of the trans. But here's third gear. We're doing about 30 miles an hour, so about 3,200 RPM. Oh yeah. That's 65, 70 right there. So it's by no means a rocket ship or a fast car, but it gets down and it boogies when you want it to. So I'm super happy with the power level. I mean, if in a perfect world, it would make a little bit more power, maybe another 20 or 30 horsepower, get it up to around the 200 range. I'll show you a nice little POV from my view here. obviously short shifting it, but you can see that turbo gauge goes right to the start of the red, which is where it should be. And it's just, it's so much fun. Knock on wood, outside of these couple of leaks that we have to diagnose, the car really doesn't have any mechanical problems. I did also notice it looks like my GoPro right here is out of SD space somehow. I don't know how, I never use this thing. But we'll just be rolling with the one camera for the rest of this video. So what does this mean for the 900? Well, in theory, and again, all hinging on these last couple of leaks being fixed, that should officially wrap up the rebuild series. So that by no means there's not more work to come to this car, because believe me, there is a lot of work to come to this car. I'll touch on a couple things quickly. Biggest thing it needs is suspension. It also doesn't need new seats, but I have new front seats for it to put in, because the driver's seat has a couple of rips in it. We'll be addressing that at some point. Not a super high priority. I would also like to, in a perfect world, redo the headliner. You might be able to see it on camera, but the sunroof portion, or the moonroof portion, is the only part that's real bad. And there's just some slight fading and scratching on the rest of it. Overall, it's not in too bad of a condition, but it could be better. But all things considered, I think for my first engine rebuild, things have gone pretty well. And I couldn't have done it without the help of a lot of amazing people. First and foremost, John, that Saab, like I mentioned, he's the one who helped me fix this boost issue today. Please give him a follow on Instagram. He has some amazing content, some amazing cars, but he's also just a great guy, great friend, and great resource. Lots of other 900 people have helped me with this along the way, and I'm just super happy to what seems like finally be wrapping up this rebuild. And oh my gosh, this steering wheel noise just keeps getting worse and worse. I hope it's not too noticeable on video. I had the car back from IMM for the weekend before they went back in and ideally sorted out the rest of the leaks. And in this 48-hour period, I've put, at the end of it, will be over 300 miles on the car, and knock on wood, it's been awesome. It's just been great. Now that this boost issue is solved, it's even better. One more here. We'll rev it out the whole way to like 5,500 this time. It builds boost a lot faster than I thought it would. I was more so expecting that 80s turbo lag that everyone talks about. But the car, you get on it and there's maybe like a second delay, if that, and then it's just full boost, full boost, full boost the whole way through the rev range. Like, it definitely has some lag, but I was quite frankly expecting more lag. And it's a very small turbo, granted, so that helps as well. But this thing is a riot to drive. I'm loving it. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for the continued support. If you'd like to help support the channel more, you can check out my Patreon. You can also purchase a Build It Better t-shirt if you are trying to, like me, build your Saab or your car better. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. I've got to swap out this damn steering wheel. I'll see y'all next time.